So hello, my name is John Locke, and I'm the current president of the University of Houston Downtown Student Government Association, and an associate of the UHD Center for Public Deliberation. It is my pleasure to welcome you tonight to tonight's forum. We hope you will enjoy it as we have worked really hard in preparation for your arrival tonight. Tonight you are attending the Immigration Forum put on by the UHD Center for Public Deliberation in partnership with Lone Star College in Kingwood, Center for Public Service and Family Strengths, Student Activities, Cultural Enrichment Center, High Impact Practices, and, of course, the Student Government Association. We are also grateful for sponsorships from both the Simmons Foundation, who paid for your dinner here tonight, among other things, and the Kettering Foundation. So first, let me introduce to you one of our listening leaders here tonight, Dr. William Flores, UHD President. President William Flores is the 5th president of the University of Houston Downtown. Hispanic Business Magazine has named Dr. Flores as one of the 100 most influential Hispanics in the country for his service to education. Under Dr. Flores' vision and leadership, UHD is engaged more students in high-impact education experiences such as internships, undergraduate research, and capstone projects and courses. And without further ado,
thank you, John and Wendy. Thank you. I want to thank all of the members of the community who are giving their time today. And I know that our ladies will take a moment. But this is part of ongoing engagement and discussions. It's also part of citizenship. And UHD is a proud sponsor of citizenship, along with the City of Houston and many other organizations. The idea is to engage in discourse and activism, to encourage volunteering, to make Houston a better place. Houston is one of the only 2 cities in the country that 2 cities in North America. One is in Canada and Houston the other. Other cities have been looking to Houston's model. And a year ago, Horatio Currier did a special on Houston, and he called it the City That's Guided Life. And he focused on the opening of citizenship and the diversity of Houston. But the reason I bring that up is because there's going to be a series of activities I encourage you to attend if you've got time on Saturday, a partnership walk on poverty, and so an effort to raise money that will be taking place in 150 cities in the country. So it's a combined effort. That's the San Houston part. On Monday here, we have rails and restaurants where you can ride the rails and learn about all the amazing things that are downtown. You get free food and drinks and tourism. We have an amazing jazz concert on Friday night, where we have some artists, jazz artists, from not only here in Houston, but also other parts of the country and from France, who will all be coming to present some of their work as part of the conference. So I want to invite you first and foremost for that. Today, this is an important discussion because it's on the role of higher education. And I know we've got representatives from Lone Star, ACC. Are there any other higher education institutions here? How about anybody else involved in education? I know we have family office of education. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I salute all of you because each of us in our own way. When you think about public education, today you can't think of America without it. But it's a relatively new experience. It wasn't until the 1830s that there was any public schools in the United States. And in fact, up until that time, they were all religious institutions. And when Massachusetts, when they began public schools in Boston, the state legislature forced them to include the Bible as text and as compulsory reading in the public education. We've come a long way since those days. And when, in the turn of the century, we had people look at public education, K-12, and say, can we still afford it? And the answer was, can we afford not to? And it became increasingly by the states viewed as something that was essential to the fabric of democracy and for the vitality of our democracy. Abraham Lincoln, as one of the, he did many great things. The Emancipation Proclamation. We know about that. We know about the Constitution. We may not know that it's because of Lincoln that the Morale Act was passed, which the Morale Act in the 1870s, which took that long actually to be implemented, what took place under his leadership. And imagine America after the Civil War, completely in debt. Deeper in debt than the United States was just a few years ago. Because most of the tax base was gone. And he said, we're going to do three things. We're going to build a transcontinental railroad. We're going to unite the East and the West, and the North and the South. We're going to build the infrastructure of the United States, with bridges and roads. And the third thing is we will build a public university in every state of the Union. Because without it, elevating is not just for the printing masses, but for the future of creativity and innovation. That's why we exist today. Public universities. Public community colleges grew up thereafter. We think about that. Fundamentally, the reason we were formed was to create not just workers, not just teachers, lawyers, social workers, and nurses, although that was part of it. But because a democracy cannot exist without an engaged and active citizen. And so as we begin our dialogue today, I want you to think in those contexts, because we do so much at universities and community colleges. We train people, we prepare people for the workplace. But if we do not prepare them for the world, it is changing dramatically. Just think of the last 5 years and how much 3D printers, just in the last 15 months, think about they're now producing organs. These things did not exist even 15 months ago. 15 months from now, what will the world be like? 5 years, or 10 years out? We may not be able to prepare for the workforce of then, but if we don't prepare the critical thinking skills, the analytical skills, the writing and communication skills, and the ability to take data and present it in a way that is convincing. If we can't work in teams, if we don't understand how to culture, then we're not serving what our real true mission is. I encourage you to discuss this, to think about these questions, but more importantly, however your team comes up with whatever ideas they do, how can we improve what we're doing? Because as UHG right now, we're trying to do that. We're building teams, and we're developing certificates for the workforce. In our MBA, for example, I don't know if you know this, we developed certificates in the MBA with industry. So they are team teaching the certificates for us because they're stackable. So that in HR and leadership and management, in planning and logistics, you can take them any time, assemble them together, and become for the MBA. And we're going to continually do that with other areas as well. I hope we have a great discussion. I know it will inform you, and I look forward to what you come up with. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, President Flores. Next, I am pleased to introduce Associate Professor and Founding Director of the UHD Center for Public Deliberation, Dr. Lawrence, who founded the Center for Public Deliberation in 2007 because she believed that we need to improve the quality of our communication in our communities. She has been studying, thinking, practicing deliberation for the last 15 years and is elated to welcome you tonight. Without further ado, Dr. Lawrence.
Thanks, John. I want to just thank everyone who is here tonight, the students, the faculty, UHD faculty, Lone Star faculty, Lone Star students, staff, UHD staff, Lone Star staff, the community members from business and various community organizations. We are so excited to have you because it's really that diversity in the conversation that makes this activity and this democratic activity that we're doing tonight meaningful. I also want to thank you for the idea that being a member of a community is about being part of something larger than yourself and helping to solve communities of the problems that we face. And I want to start out by thanking our listening leaders who are here today. We have 13 among us. They're distributed. There should be about one at each table. And I want to just give you a sense of who's here to listen to our discussion tonight. It's also, they are listed in the brochure at your table. We have Michelle Amos. Ms. Amos is the Enrich Research Initiative Manager for PACE for Kids, a division of the Harris County Department of Education, and she's worked in the out-of-school time field for more than 10 years. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. We have Michael Boylan. Where's Michael Boylan? Is Michael Boylan here? Not here? Okay. Maybe he's running a couple minutes late. Ariana Cavazos? Cavazos? Okay. Brent Pressenmeyer. Thank you so much. He's in the Office of Commercial Lending at Amergy Bank of Texas. And he's responsible for underwriting new and existing lending opportunities and serving a wide range of clients. So we are so grateful to have you here tonight. We just heard from thank you. Rebecca French. Is Rebecca French here? Okay, and Andrea Gonzalez. Oh, where's Rebecca French? Oh, hi Rebecca, how are you? She is the co-founder of the French Court Dance and Frenetic Theater with composer and filmmaker Robert Foff. Rebecca has performed in, produced, and directed over 40 original dance theater productions in Houston, and she is the co-founder of the Houston Fringe Festival in 2008, now celebrating its 7th year. Thank you for being here tonight. Andrea Gonzalez. Hey, hi, how are you? Sorry to see you. Big podiums in the way. She's the Director of Member Relations for the Greater Houston Partnership. She leads the organization's membership retention efforts to ensure adequate funding for GHP. And Andrea works with major investors to leverage their investments and to meet their business, social, and employee engagement goals. So thank you for being here with us tonight. Brittany Harris. Hello, thank you for being with us. She's the Public Relations and Community Engagement Specialist for Harmony Public Schools South District. She's a native Texan and has worked with within the nonprofit community sector in Bowman and Houston as a program advocate with the Crisis Center of Southeast Texas and after school program coordinator for the Salvation Army. So thank you for being here. And Provost Edward Huguetts, I know I saw him earlier, but another podium. Thank you for being here. He is the interim provost and senior vice president for the University of Houston downtown, and he has worked within the UH system for 36 years in various academic and administration roles under the WOWs, and is an established documentary filmmaker who has centered his work on U.S. and Texas history and social documentaries. So thank you for being here. So now James. Anybody have a second? Okay, she's calling her right. Ms. Elke Laughlin. There she is, right there. She is the Executive Vice President of Corporate Development with NAI Houston Commercial Real Estate Services. She serves on the NAI Global Members Leadership Board of Directors, and she is responsible for collaborating with sales professionals to help with business development. And she is an active participant in several business councils and industry boards of directors. And finally, it's Alberto, I'm going to say your last name wrong, Urabi, right?
Close enough.
Okay,
Close enough.
thank you for being here tonight. And he is returning to Texas as an Associate Executive Director of SER, Jobs for Progress. For the past 5 years, he has served as the Executive Director and CEO of Hub Cities Consortium, where he is responsible for planning, directing, and managing its overall operations. He has more than 20 years of experience working in positions of increasing authority at nonprofit and government agencies, operating community services and workforce development programs. So as you can see, we have a lot of interesting ideas in the room tonight, and then let me just say all of you are bringing such interesting perspective. Let me talk to you, just say a few quick words about the Center for Public Deliberation and about the issue, also about the issue we're discussing here tonight. UHC CPD was founded on the notion that communities have a lot of resources for expert problem solving. So we have engineers, we have policy researchers, we have city managers and scientists. Universities are great places for experts, and experts are very important parts of our community. And we also have a lot of resources for adversarial politics. We have politicians and lobbyists and professional persuaders and activism, and this is also very important. But we have a growing class of problems that scholars often refer to as wicked problems. And wicked problems are problems that have underlying tensions and underlying values. Like, what are we going to do with future higher education, right? There's a lot of values at stake in this discussion. And so this is the art of delivering democracy. How do we work and live in a community together when we have all of these ideas and tensions and values that we've got to work through and live together with? How do we go about doing that? There's a man by the name of Daniel Yankovic. He's a trustee at the Carnegie Foundation. He's a Harvard graduate, a psychology professor, and he left academia to start his own research firm. At the time, it was called the New York Times Yankovic Poll. He sold it, it's now the New York Times CBS Poll, and now he he founded Public Agenda. And he wrote a classic book called Coming to Public Judgment. And he was frustrated because he was a pollster. And he would go into the streets and he would hold microphones in people's faces. And he said, you know, we're not really capturing what the public thinks about these issues. He said, because really, when the public works through an issue, they go through 3 stages. First, they figure out the problem. Then they work through and think about how they feel about that problem. And then they take an intellectual stand. And he said, you know, we have all of these resources for the one-way communication that goes that we need to understand something as a problem or to take an intellectual stand. But communities are rarely equipped for the two-way communication that is necessary to work through an issue. We can't work through, in our own head by ourselves, an issue if we don't have anyone to talk to about it and thinks differently than we do, right? So what we also realized is that the dominant models of communication also miss the point. Expert model communication, experts can provide critical information, they can help us consider various options, but they can't weigh our trade-offs for us. They can't tell us what our values are, right? And the problem is that sometimes in expert politics, we assume that the public is too uninformed, too uninterested, or too emotional to play a role without thinking about how those relationships get created in public. Activism is also important, but sometimes we define problems in ways that obscure notions of tough choices. And this is where we sometimes find ourselves living in a polarized society because we get weakly formed judgments and caricatures of opposing views because we have not fully worked through an issue with people who think differently than us. So that's what this center is about. The center is about being infused with this oxymoronic notion, if that's a word, I just made it up, of passionate impartiality. We are passionate and passionately focused about the process of communication. So tonight we're going to be thinking about higher education. And we are going to be thinking about how communities and universities should be working together for the common good. After all, we all pay taxes, and some of those taxes fund our public education system. So what do we expect from our colleges and universities in return for our taxes? How should universities be focusing their resources? We are responsible, universities are responsible partly for providing the public with a good. But what good are we responsible for? The public good of higher education is not currently at the top of everyone's agenda. People are appropriately alarmed, I heard this was a discussion just earlier today, about the rising cost of tuition. And skyrocketing tuition, of course, cannot be sustained. But Dave Matthews, former United States Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, and current president of the Kettering Foundation, reminds us that the danger is that the financial pressures are going to shape and reshape the mission of higher education at the lowest possible price. The danger is that higher education will forget that its mission has come out of the great democratic movements in America. It began in the Revolution when students got enamored with that cause and shaped the education of new generations of Americans. It happened again when farmers and mechanics didn't want to end up as second-class citizens, and institutions created land-grant colleges in response. It happened again in the civil rights movement. It happened again when Native Americans used higher education to take the place of the American table. The implication of this history is that higher education can't be the sole authority on its mission. We think it's critical that higher education engage the public in these discussions and that we all, not just policymakers, be a part of setting the agenda. In doing so, I hope you'll find the value in the type of relationship that we know universities and colleges can have with their communities. And we also hope you will find usefulness in the skills and the public space we have created for collaborative problem solving here. Skills and space that are vital to our citizenry. I encourage you to ask yourself, where in your community do you see spaces filled with diverse people talking with each other as equals about important issues, spaces like the ones we've created here tonight? We believe higher education can play a vital role in teaching skills such as listening, teamwork, negotiating different interests and views, and working across differences on public problems. In fact, research by the National Issues Forum Institute suggests that the public is largely unaware of higher education's contributions to such skill development, which is seen as an urgent need to turn around the growing divisiveness and polarization in America. So what is going to happen, at minimum, as a result of your participation here today? Well, tonight, this is very exciting because this is something that we've been working on for 3 years, the first phase of this. You'll notice that your issue guide has a draft still at the top. Can you believe we still have a draft after 3 years? We have a draft because this is the second phase of the discussion. It's going to last another 2 years of scheduled discussions. We hope to have another 300 forums like we've already had throughout the U.S. We are part of the American Commonwealth Partnership, and this partnership was launched at the White House on January 10th in 2012. It's an alliance of community colleges and universities, and K-12 schools. Over 300 forums throughout the U.S. are being organized in the next coming years, or in the next 2 years. And the student associates leading these forums tonight will compile all of the deliberative dialogues that they hear tonight. We have a reporter at every table taking notes so that we can synthesize the comments and look for areas of common ground to understand the disagreements and also where people feel impassioned to act. So at this point, we're going to start. Does group 1 or group 10 feel a lot of energy about starting first?
Flip a coin.
All right, group 10 raise their hand first. They beat group 1 to it, so we're going to start on that side. And just a quick report out answering these 4 questions. 2 minutes for each group should have us ending right on time. So we'll let you take it away. One powerful action that you might be able to take.
Say your name first, what's your goal?
Good evening, my name is Elka Laughlin, and our group rocks. As far as answering question number 1, what is one action that you can take? Really is looking at how do we gain certain experiences, how do we engage in internships. It's Anne, right? Anne's a Lone Star, correct? And she's actually going to go back to the university and see about how particular internships might be set up at the university. Consider studying abroad, giving students a bigger perspective on the world, and also getting engaged, volunteering in the community is what I heard as well. Is that a fair statement, everyone? Where is one place the group disagrees, which accounts for why the topic might be so difficult? You know, everyone was very respectful of the group, and we had a great. So I think there was no pulling hair or fighting or anything like that. Everyone put their hands to themselves. 3, let's see. You can tell you're getting older when you do this. So, where is one place the group has common ground? We experience a lot of common ground. Interestingly enough, the diversity at this table is representative of the UN. I mean, we have Greece, we have Mexico, Vietnam, the Dominican Republic, Texas. But yet, I think we all, although we come from different countries and different places, we share the same core values. And so I think oftentimes people try and say something that here at University downtown Houston. His comment was it's his responsibility to teach students to learn, that the students are his clients. And Sean, that resonated with him because understanding that college is learning to learn versus coming to learn a skill to get a job. So is that a fair statement? Did I address that properly? Okay. So the idea is instead of going to college to learn a skill to get a job, it's really going to college to broaden your horizons when developing, learning how to learn, if that makes sense. And then another topic that we addressed, and really it broadened her horizons because Sean addressed the idea that we need more liberal arts, and you're into band, is that correct? And I think sometimes the discussion's been that perhaps we need to eliminate or at least shorten the, I guess, the elective periods and such. But Anne felt that was really an opening of her perspective because your daughter is about to go to school. Is that correct?
No, several years from now.
Oh, okay, good. So overall, I think we had a really great group. Everyone was engaged, and did we answer her? Good.
Who at this table would like to add something? What's your name? Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina, Group 9, we rock too. So, for our first question, what is one action we can take? We decided that we can be more active in the community. So, set up programs and reach out to students who are from K to 12th grade and tell them about grants and tell them about scholarships, because a lot of kids do not apply for scholarships because they don't know which ones are out there. So we have to educate and also do more research for them or help them with the research. One place where the group disagrees, I was the only one who disagreed, so It was on the part where we should make community service work part of the curriculum. Only reason why I disagree was because I feel like when you do community service, your heart should be in it. You should be forced to do community service. If your heart's not in it, then your purpose of being there is irrelevant because people are not grasping, the love that they need when you do community service. You're supposed to have that love there. So you can do it, but I don't think it should be required. And other than that, everybody else agrees. One place the group had common ground was internships. We feel like that the internships that they have now, they make you get a credit for it. Like you can't just do the internship just to learn skills or gain experience. You have to have that the criteria that they ask for in order to get the internship. So it makes it hard to get it. Like in the radio world, if you're not a communication major, you can't intern there. Just point blank. So they should have broadened that a little bit. Did anyone in the group say anything that might in your perspective? Ms. Angela stated that you can have all the skills in the world, you can have all the experience, but it's also who you know world. So if you don't have that connection or know someone, it might be a little more difficult to get a job. So know people, talk to people, like people. We're done.
Thank you. I just want to get so we get out of here in the time we have planned. Let's try and keep our reports about, you think 2 minutes or so? About 2 minutes, okay? Who in the state would like to report it? Britta, what do you guys? Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Britta. We have a lot of stuff, so I'm not going to be nearly as detailed as them. And just to mention, we brought something there. So, what is one action you can take? We have several actions, actually. A recurring theme that we notice throughout all the approaches is mentoring and internships and whatnot. So we decided that an action you can take is becoming a mentor within your own community. Whether it be at local schools or whether it be at like a business that you notice. And if you are working with animals, you can be like, hey, I can mentor all these kids about animals at the local vet. There's different opportunities within the community that you can be a mentor for. Giving back to universities, that's kind of like an alumni thing, but we decided that was also a really good idea to have. You can create an internship for an organization. So there's a ton of organizations and internships that are available, but there's also a lot of people who just they don't find anything that they're interested in. So one thing you can do is you can create something on your own. There's no reason why a university or a business wouldn't really let you create your own internship or your own organization if it's something that's going to benefit other people that are in your same situation. And then there's volunteering, which is kind of just a broad thing. And then, where is one place the group disagrees, which accounts for why this topic might be so difficult? We kind of took that in a different way, and it was, I guess, kind of a mixture of common ground and disagreements. It was stuff that the whole group disagreed on, but it's still common ground. We agreed that for approach 1, the rating system of the college is kind of lame. And just this overall rating system, it's like that's not a proper way to rate a university, because some of those schools have bad years, some bad schools have good years. So by rating them on that 1 year, it's just kind of it can affect the university in a different way than what they have done in the past. Where is one place the group has common ground? Lots of places. We have community outreach, we have collaboration amongst the universities and the communities. That was a big thing in our group that we liked. The high school to college transition, I feel, was a really good topic that we talked about. And from personal experience, I know that I was in no way prepared for the way college works compared to my high school. They do offer dual credit and whatnot, but it's tailored to high school students still. So you don't really get the full effect of, hey, this is how college is going to be. You're just kind of thrown in there. And so then that's how a lot of people end up failing, or how a lot of how it could have been handled a lot differently, I think, for my generation and those before me. I feel like we weren't really prepared for college. And did anyone in the group say something that widened your perspective? Mr. Edwards actually said something that I noticed, and that was that we were talking about how having a bachelor's degree kind of now is how back then, how having a high school diploma kind of was, which is like, so he was saying that we had this topic debate where it was why are students still enrolling in college and pursuing their bachelor's if they're viewing it as, well, I'm wasting all this money on something that's probably not going to get me anywhere because now it's like a high school diploma. And he said that it's still the experience and the fact that you'll have this higher education as well as just having an experience. So instead of just being like, hey, yeah, I like internship here and I did this, but if you didn't go ahead and get your bachelor's degree, people would be like, oh, well, you didn't really get the education that we're looking for as well as the experience. So you can still pursue your bachelor's in terms of having that higher education on your resume. So, yeah.
All right, thank you, Brett. Who in this would like to weigh in? What's your name? Amir, here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amir. We're going to start talking about one option that we can take, and we said don't move, research and opportunities, and also check internships and find out what is the skills that would be needed. I'm sorry, my English is not very good. The question number 2 is, what is one place that group disagrees, which accounts for why this topic may be so difficult? And we take developing. So, well, we don't have disagreement. Number 2. What is one place the group has common ground? We took developing mutual supportive interpersonal relationship that we require to that step, and also becoming more involved in the community. And also that higher education is very important to us. Did anyone in the group say something that didn't your perspective? We took talking that we have a lot to contribute and looking into mentorship and internship programs. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amir. And what's your name? Andrew. What's your best?
Hi, I'm Andrew Gonzalez. We are group 6, the best group ever. I would just like to say we had some really great discussions at our table, and it's really about the diversity that people represented. We've got some seasoned business professionals and parents and students, managers, and people who've been unemployed and people looking for jobs and whatnot. But I think if we tackle the common ground, I think it's definitely a commitment to education. The definition of that education is still kind of what we were like. What are the options? One of the things we did talk about is that none of these options were necessarily mutually exclusive, that we can, as a community and a society, if you will, pick and choose in some of those things and kind of put them in a holistic educational approach, and I think we all would find value from that. The widen perspective, actually, I think it was a combined perspective of parents in the group to students in the group and the value of different courses that people are let's say, forced to take in your early college days. And someone who now really hated economics in college, but if I had taken that same class, 20 years later, 40, 20 years, 15 years later, I'd have a very different perspective and value on that education that's offered. So that multi-generational approach was very valued and I think appreciated at this table. I think opportunities like this where multiple groups are convening and having that dialogue, I think it does put together a very cohesive and better solution. So, Miss, anything you guys? All right, we're going.
All right, thank you. Halfway through the group, let's get this table in the middle. What's your name? Linda Cook.
In terms of common ground in group 5, We didn't see that the three options were all that totally different, and we sort of saw them as needing to be integrated. So we thought all three approaches actually had important things. We thought that the liberal arts, the job training, the community service, all those things should all be part of a college education. We didn't necessarily think that the trade-offs were, particularly good either, because we didn't buy into that. We thought that actually you don't have to extend, an extra year or whatever in order to integrate those things into a college education. They should be part of a college education. Our disagreements were really not that huge. They were more sort of narrow versus broad in terms of the benefits of hands-on experience, internships, things like that. It was more when they should start. Should they start like in high school? Should they start in college? Should they be, after 2 years of college? At what point? And so it was really more of a how and when should they get that hands-on experience. Our actions, I think the one action that we have circled here is we all believe that mentoring is important. So, whether you're a student and you mentor other students, whether you're in the community and you mentor, whether you're a university professor and you mentor, that mentorship should be something that universities and colleges should definitely try to have more. Because a good mentor, as she said, is always important. Okay. And basically we thought that while we should not be responsible for K-12 education, that colleges could probably do a better job of letting K-12 schools know what the expectations were for students coming into college. That there's just not a good linkage between the two. Increased communication, not only with K-12, but also with community organizations. And ways that our perspectives were widened is that we realized that you don't necessarily need a degree to be successful. One of the people in our group that actually was our writer, whatever it was called, yes, went to college, but is very, not only creative and everything else, but very articulate and all that kind of stuff, and dropped out of college. And so there are a lot of different ways. There are a lot of different ways to become successful. And, the degree part is sort of the beginning. There are, other benefits and all this kind of stuff. One of the things that we discussed is, you look at, okay, this is for a job, and that's fine. But that there are, broader interests and broader benefits to an education than just getting a job.
Thank you. All right, this group in the corner. What's your name?
Claudette.
Claudette. Okay, Claudette will put her group.
Okay, so for the first question, we kind of debate on who to give a report out by word. So the first question is, what is one action you can take? Well, what we did was we came up with one action for each approach. Because like it's been mentioned before, we saw a few options from all of the approaches that if we put them all together, they would work better to address this issue. So for approach number one, we said that the schools can provide more relationships and networking opportunities for students for internships. For approach number two, the action would be the schools can help students develop skills outside of the classroom by providing opportunities for field trips to companies, classes, to inform the student about what to expect in the workforce. And the third option would be that the school can make it easier for faculty to engage in the process, the selection process for community outreach, such as brainstorming sessions to provide services to students. And the one place we disagreed, we didn't necessarily agree on the trade-off on approach number two. For the fourth option now, where it says mentorship programs could saddle students with one more requirement already on the path to earning their college credential. We didn't feel that that was necessarily true, so we disagreed on that. One place that the group has common ground
we all liked approach number 3, and we agreed that, like I mentioned before, if you pulled out a few of the options from each approach, we would bring it together and make it to better address this topic. As far as the ways perspectives widened, we had 2. So there's a great deal of difference in what's important generationally, the age differences amongst the baby boomers and the millennials brings different experiences to the table, so that impacted our dialogue tremendously. And also, we had one person who completely forgot about the baby boomers, but she remembered them, and then that helped her approach the discussion a little bit differently. So, that's it.
And Maggie Mahoney will report on her group.
Hi everyone. So we had a few things for common ground. We all agreed that we should start early. We heard middle school a lot come up in our conversation as well as high school, and I think that if we can start students earlier, that would be better. We all agreed that internships and more internships would be a really good asset for improving higher education as well as mentorships. And we agreed that building relationships between businesses and higher education would benefit us. For our disagreements, we disagreed on the idea of do companies have enough time to give to students and institutions? Some of us said yes, some of us said no. Do they have enough in their budget to do that as well? Some of the actions that we talked about was starting earlier. We wanted to see if we can support the K-12 or the P16 pipeline, and maybe that would help our students be more prepared for coming to higher education. We also talked about being intentional. That was a little bit of the word of our group. Thanks, guys. In your role, we want to be intentional in our roles as students, as business members, community members, as members of higher education, and at UHD, Lone Star, wherever we are. We should be intentional about what we do to support higher education as best we can. And then finally, we should strengthen relations between higher education and the community. In ways our perspectives were widened. We got into perspective by the concept of companies having responsibility to support training and internships for our students. That was a new thought that some of us had, so that was a new perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear from the middle. What's your name?
Stephania.
Stephania. Okay, this Stephania is going to report on her group.
Well, first off, I'm a freshman at this university. This is my first time here. So please forgive me for my leads for last Sunday. For our common ground, we came up with to avoid classes that do not benefit your career. And a way that we thought that this could happen is if we start out by leveling out the student learning opportunities in like high school. Because we noticed that in AP classes, they have a different level of challenges than those in regular classes. Me personally, I've had that experience, so I can definitely attest to that. So if we really wanted to remove some of the electives, this would be one of the ways we could do it by leveling it out. One disagreement that we had was definitely approach 2. Basically that requiring internships, classes and study abroad, it wouldn't necessarily help out the students because there are of course some students that they have to provide for their families while they're still in college. So of course by having it as a requirement, it's going to make it that more difficult to provide for their families at the same time if they have to balance out so much more time towards this internship. Some actions we actually came up with were more community involvement, encouraging more internships instead of requiring it, because if we encourage it more people will be more inclined to take them instead of just thinking of them as a regular option. So definitely strongly encouraging them and also allowing different perspectives to be heard, because in our community, of course, there's so many, there's a lot of diversity here in Houston, and by having little groups like this, it definitely helps to widen the perspective, especially if you are somebody that isn't really, that isn't directly a part of politics. Like you're not a part of that environment. I'm not sure if that sorry. One way that perspectives were widened were I actually brought up a point about how study abroad would actually be harmful to some students by that they will probably have time for it. Like some students might have to work and like provide for their families, as I mentioned earlier. And one person in our group, Alex, she actually wanted it to be a requirement because she thought it would be more beneficial to give students that opportunity. But after hearing my plan on it, she started thinking about that perspective instead of just limiting herself to just one perspective.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, we have one final group. Can you introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Alex. I'm the moderator for Table 1. I want to say that we rock, because they say the best for last, of course. Alright, let's get to it, guys. I'm going to do this really fast because I know that I'm time crunch here. What are some actions that we can take? One person in our group is Michelle Ramirez, and she would raise awareness of the importance of education experience. She will also create a space available that fosters certain skills that students don't learn in the classroom. And then all of us said that we would tell people about these forums because they're great, aren't they? Whereas one place the group disagrees, which accounts for why this topic might be so difficult. Disagreements was pretty much on approach 2 when they said that a complete redesign of the curriculum for the leadership part. No one really, well, some people disagree that, oh, you don't need those certain skills, or they should be forced to learn those certain skills. So that's where we came to some disagreements upon. And also divided on the internship. Some people believe that internships are important, and some people believe that experience is important. So it kind of takes away a lot if you are interning all the way, but you don't get those classroom skills that develop in that sense, I guess. Whereas one place the group has common ground. We came on common ground because they said less electives. Nobody likes electives in this university. They say we should focus more on the career-oriented courses, and universities should work with companies to better prepare students for the workforce. Last but not least, which perspectives widen? After-school programs that help students develop skills that schools do not offer. That's something that Michelle does on a daily basis. She says that for students who don't get those skills, and such as we were talking about, like art, gym, pottery, all those things that don't matter. They have after-school programs that people fund that kids can go learn, or we can go learn, and stuff like that. And another thing that widened our views on things was Delphina said that she was working, she got her experience and all that stuff, but the only thing that she lacked was an education. So it's important to have both. So that's it for Group 1. We rock. Wow.
Well, I would say all of you rock. Let's have a round of applause for all of the rocking groups.